I want to get all the way back to the beginning, but
Sure.
just about a month ago, you said, Miles, your advice makes me multiple five figures per month was the subject. And I was like, oh, this email has my attention. So I opened it and you said, I took your advice a while ago and made a YouTube channel. I've got 62,000 subs in the home buying niche, which is now over 72,000, which we'll get to. You gave me the specific number, multiple five figures per month revenue through AdSense and sponsorships. And then you're also generating 40 leads per day that you're expecting to convert into additional five figures per month from the actual business. And we'll get into your business here. And you're also working on a digital product to sell. My, oh my. So, and then you said, thank you. And then you offered to come on and share. So here we are. So Kyle, if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of from a professional perspective, we'll get into the marketing geekery first, but like,
Sure.
what business are you in? What do you do? What service do you provide to the world? Let's kind of go there first.
Yeah, the main thing that I do is I help people go through the home buying process with as little stress as possible. And so I have a channel, I call it Win the House You Love. Kind of my theory is that the more that you educate yourself about the home buying process, the easier it is for you to win the house, because buying a house isn't like going to Walmart and picking it off the shelf. You're competing with other people. And I truly think the smartest person, the most educated home buyer, is the one who gets to win the bid and get the house that they actually love. And so basically it all started from, I used to originate loans. And I made videos because I was tired of answering what's an appraisal 100 times.
Yep.
And so I made videos for my clients. And then that just started, YouTube does its thing where it picks up traction and other people start seeing it. And then I was like, man, this is something that can turn into its own entire thing. And so I've been trying to position myself as, Miles, you talk about being the most helpful internet marketer in the world. My goal is I'm trying to be the most helpful home buying advocate that really a lot of home buyers just don't feel like they have anybody on their side. And so that's my goal, is to let me pull back the curtain, show you what's going on so that you can stand out amongst all the other competition when you're buying.
How long have you been doing like loan origination? How long have you been in the real estate world?
Yeah. I 3.5 years, I
Okay.
believe, 3 or 3.5.
So
So
when
still
you,
very early.
yep. So when you first started, so like, cause the first emails I got from you, when you first found my content, let's go back to kind of like when you found my content, roughly 2018 ish, my channel was still, it wasn't as established as it is today. What had you been thinking? Were you already doing loan stuff? Were you looking for this to tie into that? Or were you looking for something completely separate? Like, I just want to make money online. Like, I don't care how it comes. I just want a bit more lifestyle freedom.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly at what point it was, because I know at very beginning, before I started originating, I had like a website where I was doing some content marketing stuff. And so I don't know if I've sent you anything about that in there. But yeah, I was just fascinated by like creating a business online. I
Yeah.
just love that, the freedom, and there's this creativity aspect. I think people think creativity means you have to draw and do
Yeah.
music and whatever, but there's this interesting creativity that comes with online marketing that I really like expressing myself through. I just couldn't figure out how to make it work,
Yeah.
how I wanted to express that. And
Right.
so I initially started with a friend of mine, kind of tied into a business that he was doing, and was trying some content marketing. Got a lot of results there, but it was going to be something that would take a long time for us to monetize
Right.
on the trajectory we were on. So we ended up kind of ditching that project, and then I went into originating. And originating is very much a relational business, very, very
Right.
local, relational. And then all of a sudden, was when I started doing YouTube, I realized, oh, I remember all this stuff from like what you taught about.
Yeah.
I can take that into the local business side.
A
And so
professional service.
I became like the video guy in my local market. Like normally during a year, I would record about 1,000 personalized videos that I would send to clients. So instead of doing emails, I would just snap record on, Loom or Soapbox or BombBomb or whatever tool you're using. And so like I would have people who I'd never met before. They would be at the closing table and then tell the title reps, like, oh yeah, we already know these numbers. Kyle sent a video. And so I like that word spread that way. And then it kind of turned into, that you can get a bunch of traction through YouTube as well outside of a local audience.
I think it's really powerful. So you're taking a local service. Are you licensed? Are you like able to kind of operate in one state and literally like that's like the license of your business is kind of one state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right. So like in one way of looking at your industry, which is probably how 98+% of loan originators look at it, is like, boy, look at all these limitations I have. right? I can only do this, and I'm stuck in this little state, and I got all, and they look at the world through all the challenges, and you've been able to think like, okay, so 17 of my last clients asked these 3 questions. I've had to go like individually answer it every time. Like maybe I can create a library of content that would not only serve these clients and help me build this local professional services business, but now you're seeing that like it's actually opening additional doors for additional kind of like cash flow and multiple streams of income, because those same questions that those 17 clients in your local area ask are the same questions that people in Southern California have, that people in New Jersey have, that people in Montana have. And there might be some nuances in there, but people on the journey of, like buying a house, it's generally the down payment's the largest check that most people ever write. Right.
Yeah.
You get into the VC world and business buying and selling, like, okay, but for the average person, that down payment check, that 20% check, and maybe you even know how they could do it with a 5 or a 3% down type thing. So it's an emotional process that is kind of clouded in mystery. And I think there's also a lot of, I think sometimes real estate people can get negative press, and the kind of market at large can think like, I don't know if I trust these slick salespeople over here. Bingo. So you're like, I'm just going to go education. I'm going to build a library, and YouTube has since picked you up. When did you publish the first video in this direction, kind of on your channel?
Yes. The first video I published, I'm looking at this subscriber chart over here, was in September of 2018.
Okay.
And so I recorded, I'm looking at this chart, and I can screen share if you want me to.
I don't know if we have the ability for you to do that. Try it if you can. Give it a whirl. I don't know if there's a host issue here.
Looks like it may be disabled.
Yeah. All right. So
we'll roll with it.
We'll roll with it.
But I didn't get 100 subscribers until, so his first video was in September 2018.
Yep.
100 subscribers was literally September 2019. It took me a year to get 100 subscribers. Beautiful. And, in that year, it wasn't like super aggressive. I would make a video every so often, and, they were nothing special.
Right.
And, even
so you were
from
half-assing it, like in full on, like you were doing it when you had time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a priority. It was not nearly up the priority, which probably stemmed from the lack of an understanding about like how much bigger than this, because like, hey, I'm a new mortgage person. I mean, I'm assuming you're in your 20s, maybe you're in your 30s, but you're a younger individual. 25, right? For the folks listening and not seeing this one. And you're like, okay, so like you probably want to buy a house at some point. You maybe have a family, or you want a family. So life for an average 20, you make $5-6 grand a month as a 25-year-old, you're doing pretty good. But then you start to kind of sense that this national audience and this larger global level of things. And it's like, man, if I can give a little bit of help to a few dozen million people, which is actually possible through the same technology you were already using. Interesting.
And it started with, at that point, it was just a collection of videos for my clients, because it wasn't really gaining any traction. Because within that period of time, I published a video that now has over several 100,000 views.
Okay.
And, it just takes a long time
to
rank.
One hit.
Yeah. But I was trying some Facebook ad stuff to get that to work. And I could not, and housing is tough to do advertising inside of. I could not get anything to work. And that's when I ended up kind of going like, you know what, I'm just going to push the organic thing. And that's when kind of around 2019 is where I was like, I'm going to get more serious about this and start publishing consistently. And it's funny when I've learned that you probably shouldn't tell people what you're doing because everyone looks at you like you're crazy and like, why are you making these videos?
Yeah. Why would you ever do that?
No one's watching them. And who wants to watch, who wants to watch this 30-minute video on FHA loans? I'm like, well, it has 500,000 views. It's like a lot of people want to watch, a lot of people want to dig into this.
Well, and like, let's go even deeper on that, right? Who wants to watch that video? Somebody who's trying to buy a house, somebody who's really freaking committed and who really wants to understand. Like, so there's like, we have emotional people and logical people. There's right brain, left brain type stuff. Hey, for a first certain personality type, they're going to watch the entire thing. People get that way with sales videos. Like sometimes I have a sales video we've crafted that's like almost 50 minutes. I have a student in, sports, like how to play a certain sport better. It was like an hour video, and she's like, is anyone gonna watch this? And I'm like, girl, just publish it. She crushed it, dude, because the perfect people who are actually ready to take action, and they're really trying to educate themselves, like you said, to win the house, to really, they're so committed, they'll watch every minute, and they're going to be better clients when they get on the phone because they know all the bits and pieces from it. It's abstract at first. So do you know how many videos you published in that first year to get to 100 subs?
That first year, I think I posted maybe 60.
Dude. Okay.
So nothing crazy.
So when I was at 60 videos, so that was 2 months in, I was probably about 150 subs. Right. And I condensed it down through that challenge approach that when I launched, which obviously came from experiencing a big win with my wife. Like, now that you've done it once, like, staying focused in your lane is going to be more difficult as time goes on. Cause like, I could do this for anything. And that would actually, kill everything. So at some point, I think, did you actually do like a modified challenge, like an actual 90-day challenge? Like, did you get caught into that kind of idea that I've shared here on the channel?
I did 90-day excluding the weekends.
Perfect.
So not a full 90-day. It was a modified. I knew that like if I did, in that point too, like, originating is I was working 12, 14-hour days originating. So doing videos on top of stuff like that too was like,
so you weren't just hanging out in a hammock, kicking it by the pool, like, I'll take some of these 23 free hours a day I have, and I'll make a video or two. Like,
I'm there at, 9:30 at night or 5 in.the morning, sitting there recording videos and copying your intro. Hey, this is Kyle with Win the House You Love, and doing that thing. And so, but I knew that if I did the weekends too, I was just gonna kill myself. Yeah, it was gonna be too much. So I didn't really go full. I kind of like didn't even do like a 90 video thing. It was more of just, I'm gonna make a video every weekday until I feel like this has some traction rolling.
So I get momentum. And was that in 2019 that you did that kind of period of intense output?
And I hit 1,000 subscribers in, let's see, it was January of 2020.
Boom.
And then everything really started taking off. Like, if the chart like does the little hockey stick thing, around May of 2020, I was at 3,500 subscribers. And now fast forward to, just a little bit over a year later, we're at 72,000. So that one year was about 65,000 subscribers.
So give it a shot now. I believe I've given you the, I've set you in God mode, my friend, here on the Zoom.
Yes.
So give a screen share and feel free to, we're there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So the far left of this graph that we're looking at,
this is very first video.
Jeez. Wow. And it floated out to crickets, which is
Yep.
how we all start.
It's disappointing to see the 1 subscriber and then it goes back to 0.
You lost the first one.
It's like, who did I offend?
I've always said that, the first subscriber is like mom and the second one's grandma, and your mom was like, come on, Kyle, I can't handle this. I'm sorry. So
he was annoyed with the pace.
So you started in September 2018. A year later, you'd done 60 videos, and that was 100 subscribers. And then about a year and 4 months later, so about 16 months after that, you hit the 1,000 subscribers. Can you go to that point on the graph? Bingo. So this is this is like so important for people to see. And I thank you for your willingness to share this. Like,
absolutely.
It literally looks like nothing is happening on the graph up until that point. Like, there's like 1 pixel up just after October.
Right.
Like, it literally looks like that. Like, but in those times you were actually getting views and you had little victories in there. You're like, wow, that video got 113 views. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And now that would obviously be a disappointment. But so how did you find the ability to maintain a positive mindset, to maintain a willingness to keep showing up with a smile on your face, and to carry on in those first like 2 years that were obviously difficult?
Yeah. Honestly, it was a lot of like your videos where you talked about some of the progress updates that you saw with your channel.
Yeah.
Like, that was super encouraging, because I remember I would go through and I would go back and watch your video when I was at that milestone. So I'd see like, okay, I know I'm this many videos into it, and so it was Miles at this point. I want to compare where subscriber count was, and then I could be like, oh, okay, I'm kind of
not that far off. Yeah.
And since I saw like he did the thing, I can do this, right? I think I can, as long, it looks like it's me just showing up, to an audience and being as helpful as I possibly can over a longer period of time. And I'm going to see retraction from that. And so it really is one of those things that it's just like, again, that first year is kind of me just throwing some stuff out there.
Yep.
Then the next thing that I was focused on was not necessarily, it wasn't views.
Phase.
Yeah, it wasn't views or anything after that. It was all like, I know you talk about the idea of like, you're just becoming a content creator at that point. And so that was all I was trying to do, was not what can I do to get views and subscribers and whatever, or being disappointed at the numbers. My only goal was, I just want to like practice this like it would be any other thing that you'd go practice and learn. Like my job is to go try to create videos and get a little bit better at presenting, a little bit better and a little bit better. And that was kind of what kept me with it, is I didn't really care as much about the views or what traction it got, because I was just like, I'm just here to make a shitty video and make it a little less shitty as it goes on.
100%. I mean, so Roberto Blake's got this thing. So I talk about the 90-day, 120-day challenge. He talks about making 100 shitty videos, right? Because once we get through 100, rubbish videos, like you get a few that kind of worked, and then the process starts to unfold. And it's like, so we dabble. And what I love that you've been going back to repeatedly here, that I want to emphasize for the listeners specifically, you weren't focused on the vanity metrics. And anytime I think you maybe got down on the vanity metrics of like, is this working? Like I only have 100 subscribers. And then you went and looked at my video where I had 60 videos published, because I did a 60-day update with 60 videos. And you're like, okay, Miles had 147 and I have 100. Miles was a pro. Like I had like 6 years full-time experience online as a search engine marketer before I started my channel. Like not bad to come. I can't throw a ball as good as Tom Brady, a pro in that sport, right? Like, but you were actually on within the range of that. That kind of creates the flywheel, the ratcheting effect of like, okay, I can now get my ego mind to shut the F up, because it's just barking at me that this should be faster and easier and faster and easier. And let me just hone the craft. Let me just get better at the process of the medium I committed to. Did you, do you have a blog for this brand as well? Do you do like written content at all?
No, that is definitely something that I'm wanting to get into.
Cool.
Is doing so when I'm working on building a website to launch the product. And then one thing I'm going to do is kind of do the syndicate model that you do, which is take those videos, turn them into blogs. I already turn them into a podcast right now. That's super easy to do.
Super easy.
And so next step is to then actually take that and turn into blog traffic as well.
Yep. 100%. But it's important for people to get, and this is the smart part, you didn't try to go do all three of them at once. You stayed really focused on one, right? Like, okay, we live in the creator economy. We live in the age of the creator. We all have these devices on us that we're glued to more than any of us wants to be glued to them. And what are we actually glued to? We're infinite scrolling and binge watching content. I got to shift to the other side of the equation. I got to become a creator. What's my medium? And how did you know video was for you? Why video instead? Did it just like feel right, or you were making them for your clients? So I was like, well, I could just also post this on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really considered. I know that I was already getting used to doing video, kind of the personalized video section, because, on the loan side, I started in the mortgage world at 22, I think. And so like, who's going to trust me to do their mortgage? And so I realized I need to put in a lot of stuff to help people understand, like communicate that I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Which, there's a good portion of what I didn't know what I was talking about that you learn as you go through it.
Yeah.
But I realized I can do video, because most people who were comparing my loans versus another company, they were talking with some other person who would barely email them back, or they talk on the phone. And then I show up and I say, hey, John, like hey, it's Kyle. Thanks for sending in your application. I want to walk through your quotes, and I'd put their quotes up here on screen and talk about comparisons. And this one's going to save you this much amount of money in the future. And then like, it's like, I would stand out so much against everybody else.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, well, they didn't do any of this for me.
Right. Right. And so what you're doing here, like if we zoom way out, industry professionalism type stuff, a lot of this stuff was done belly to belly 20 years ago. Pre-internet, you go into the bank, you sit down with the banker, you're like the application was literally like blue ink, not black ink type thing, right? Like you got to actually write it out on
it's still that way, unfortunately. Yeah.
No, it totally is. Well, DocuSign this past year, I just refied a place. And so we did have to sign at the end. Boy, DocuSign got us really, really far. But So I've got a real estate investing background. I've flipped several houses. I've done rentals. My wife and I met at real estate school. We were getting our
Yeah.
broker's licenses in Albuquerque. So I'm confident enough with like the closing disclosures in those statements that I was like, ooh, I can shop for this or that. Like, okay, cool. And then I found a way to save a couple grand on that.
Yeah.
99% of people don't know any of this stuff. And that closing disclosure document, even though it's just like two pages, it's so intimidating. And in the old days in the bank, when we wrote it out, you would go into your banker and you would sit down with them at the desk and they would be like, cool, here's what's going on. And everyone's like scale, automation. And that part has been lost because why wouldn't it be lost? We can just run Facebook ads
Yeah.
and leads and everybody's just a number now. They're not humans anymore. We're just databases are simply numbers of prospects. And it's like, no, that's John, that's Mary, that's Mike, right? That's Roberto, these are real people. And you taking the time to bring that personal touch back, it's like you went old school from a kind of a business execution principle, but you leverage technology to do so.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about it too is that it actually video scales a lot better.
Yeah.
Because this is what happens to most people. Like you talked about the closing disclosures, the loan estimates, just telling all the documents alone. It's scary, and people do these weird mental gymnastics, and they're adding all these random things together. And I'm like, whoa, no, that's not it. And so what would happen is I could time it. I could press the send loan estimate button. And I knew within 20 minutes, I was going to get a call from the client and they were going to be panicking.
Yep.
They were going to be panicking or they were going to be mad at me. You told me it was going to be this and it's $90,000. And like, we're adding some
but
different
this column
lines
actually, you subtract this column from that and that over here. And this is actually all getting bundled up over here. So if you go to page 2 down row 9, that's the actual number. And they're like,
so that was, and that would turn into a 30-minute to an hour-long call. Yep. Not only that, but even if I resolved things, trust was still lost there.
Yep.
That panic created a rupture in trust, even if I resolved it at the end of the call.
It's an emotional anchor. Fine.
Right. And so what I realized is I can record a 5-minute video, walk through the whole thing. Hey, I'm going to walk through your loan estimate with you so you can understand entirely what's going to happen. Then I'll walk you through the next steps. You'll get the signed and we'll get you moving on. Walk through it line by line. They watched the 5-minute video and I didn't have to go spend 30 minutes on the call with them. So I saved time. They saved time and emotional energy. They understood more clearly. They trusted me more. It's just a much better experience. And it's like this, that was like revolutionary for me to put into place, not to mention the realtors who would be like, it was an easy sell for me. Like why it's beneficial to work with this kid over here is like, oh, he'll do videos and walk you through the whole thing and you'll understand each step of the way.
Your clients will be happy.
So it's like,
that's why.
Yeah, you're missing a huge opportunity by not doing things like that.
That's brilliant, man. I think it's really cool how you've merged it together. And so many people get into this space. They get intrigued by this space of make money online or make, like being a creator, right? Becoming a YouTuber. And like a lot of the times those are all abstract. And sometimes people like, they do nothing but research affiliate marketing. And then they think they have to go into the affiliate marketing space because that's what they're passionate about. And here you've kind of blended like an old world thing that's, like you're playing in a good old boy world in many senses through the banks and all this, that, the other, and you're just layering on this technology. Your life's easier. The scale at which you're able to produce, I mean, your broker or your boss must love you, right? You're probably running one of the more profitable desks. And at some point you could either potentially break out to your own, like the number of directions that can go in and of itself is huge. Let's do a little transition now.
Sure.
To the actual like revenue from the videos. So you're running ads and you have a sponsor on the channel. Did you turn on monetization the first moment that YouTube gave you the chance to do it?
Yeah, I did. And that was, how long ago was that? It was all like peanuts in the very beginning. Yep. It's nothing.
Right.
I did just because I was like, because at that point I was kind of like, oh, I kind of do want this to turn into another revenue stream. I want this to turn into kind of an online thing. And I had a bit of a vision that at the time seemed crazy and now is not crazy, but just to be like, I want to be the advocate for home buyers. To be able to give them the information that they're looking for. And I think I can turn this into its own entire separate business. And so with that too, like I stopped originating this past November. Because I was like, I can turn this whole thing into it is an entire business right now.
Yep.
And me originating takes away from me being able to be an
Slows
advocate
you down.
for buyers through the process.
Right.
Yeah, because I can only do so much as an originator. Whereas this, I can help on a much bigger scale.
Now, when you say
For
that,
people.
do you mean like, are we talking compliance type things? Like I can't give certain types of advice or talk about certain topics because I'm a fiduciary in that sense?
More in the sense of like, if I were to keep being an originator, I'll put it this way: like a year ago, I used to wake up and have a full loan application with documents included. So normally that's a big thing to do. Like you're normally, calling people, trying to get their documents in, trying to get them to do a loan application. I would wake up, never talk with somebody. I have a full application, all of their income documents, all their bank statements, all put together, and somebody's waiting for me to call them. So if I were to do that now, I would have to build out a team.
Yeah.
And that's just really not kind of like, I like real estate, but origination is not a passion of mine.
Yep.
It can be brutal to do that day in, day out and work on all those problems with loans. And I much more always liked what can I do to help people overcome the hurdles that they're facing with buying a home, help
Right.
them understand more clearly what that plan looks like. And so it was a very natural progression for me to go from, I mean, a lot of people thought I was crazy, to go from originating at a high volume to then switching over to saying, I'm just going to be doing the education full time because I know I can be of service much more here and
Yep.
to many more people than if I was just originating, only being able to do a handful of loans and help a handful of families every month. I can now help thousands, if not tens
Yep.
of thousands of people every single month
So
on
are
the
you
education side.
selling that lead flow at this point?
Yeah, so I partnered with actually working on a partnership right now to work with one of the top lenders in the nation.
Awesome.
To be able to, because I get about 800 to 1,000 people a month ask for a lender referral, and so you're trying to figure out like what is the
30
uh,
plus a day.
yeah, how do I be of service to these people and make sure that like they are working with a lender who I trust as well.
Yep.
And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time to like find a lender who I trust and
Yeah.
create a good partnership that they can also handle working with that amount of
Oh,
people.
trust me, I know, man. As an affiliate trying
Yeah.
to recommend courses, it's like, oh, I got to buy them and go through them and be like, that's what's inside this thing. I could never recommend this person, right?
There's
Like,
several very high paying offers that I've turned down just because they don't align with me. They don't align with what I teach and what I align with what I think how my clients, other than not my
yeah.
clients, but how the people that I work with
Your
and
audience.
educate should be taught.
Yep.
Yeah. How my audience should be
Totally.
going through the process.
This is so
Um,
so all the way back to one of the original concepts is like you are truly committed to being the most helpful person for them, right? The
mhm.
greedy guru approach to this is I can get all of the money, right? And people sell their souls for the highest bidder. Often it's so common, and those brands do not have the longevity that you have.
Yeah.
So at this point, you are actually bridging out of the professional services and into leveraged education, YouTuber,
Yeah.
content marketer. So you have made it to where now, technically speaking, you can speak to a much broader audience. You can do your work from anywhere. You don't really have to go to a closing and be tied to any sort of title companies. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of freedom.
I don't have to answer my phone at 10 at night.
Yeah, or 6 a.m. or and
Yeah.
it's almost like the emotional state of the human on the other side of the phone. I don't have to get
Mm,
those phone calls where someone's panicking over what's really nothing, but that
yeah.
real estate is such an emotional process. So like it is a really emotional. Wow, so you took a professional services role in to becoming a full-time content creator. You're doing really good with lifestyle from a cash flow perspective. And this most recent move sounds like it was a pure lifestyle play. Like there probably actually is upside. There probably is more money that you could make from this direction continuing on. But within that also, with that being said, like the lifestyle of being a full-time content creator is just,
Right. Because when originating didn't cause this, but
yep,
it certainly didn't help. I like not this past winter, but like the winter before, I hit like the peak of, or I guess not the peak, the very lowest of depression that I've ever encountered in my life. I didn't actually realize
personally.
I didn't realize depression was a real thing until it hits you. You're like, it's this concept. But then when at the point when I had like self-harm thoughts or suicidal thoughts, was when I was originating at my highest peak. That was when I was like, this is the most money I've ever made. You know, you have this thought like I should be happy, but I'm, you know, miserable and feel
Yeah.
hopeless. And then I realized like, okay, I need to get help and talk with a doctor and get on medication and stuff. But it helped me align things with like, I'm, it is, it's not a desire, it's a necessity to do things that you enjoy and to carry your life in a way, design it in a way that you want to.
Yeah.
There's no point in staying in something that again, it's not the origination that caused that necessarily.
100% get
It
it.
certainly didn't help. The lifestyle
Yeah.
did not help of constantly running myself, working all the time. So it was like, what can I still do to be helpful, but in a way that works well for my nervous system, in a way that works well for what I'm looking to create in my life. And I think when sometimes people hear like the lifestyle idea, is it isn't just you want to be on vacation full time. A lot of it comes down into like, what do you want your nervous system to feel like? How does
Yeah.
it exist in the world? Because everyone's different. Some people can run at a much higher pace.
Yep.
And I really just can't do that. It stresses me out, gives me anxiety, and eventually turns into really dark depression.
Yep.
And so it's like,
Yep.
that doesn't work for me. I cannot help people in that capacity. And that's just something that's just the way that I am wired. And so I had to learn that and figure out, I need to figure out then, if I still want to be helpful in this space, what does that look like now?
Yeah.
Because it
Where's my
doesn't look like
pivot?
this thing over here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think what's interesting is as we become more in alignment with ourselves internally and start expressing that outwardly, other things start to align with it. There's like this grand alignment when all of a sudden I can start to come in tune with what's true and what's authentic. How do I express myself authentically? All of a sudden, all these external things start lining up. And that's when I started to see like a ton of growth on the YouTube side, all these opportunities for, you know, partnerships and sponsorships
The
and all
outer
these
world started
ideas.
to reflect
Yeah,
the changes that were created in the inner world. So, you know,
absolutely.
you've obviously heard my story more than a few times, but there's one part of it, and I thank you for sharing that because, you know, so many people think that the game is all about turn up the treadmill until you get the McMansion in that neighborhood, the two
Yeah.
Beamers and the boat outside, and they don't really
Oh, those
realize that.
ugly McMansions.
Yeah, right. And like, and then you can do your Instagram flexes in front of them. And you know, you're making with the treadmill turned on high, you're making $42,000 a month, but your lifestyle is costing $41,000 a month. And at the end of the year,
Mm,
you've got 12 grand saved and you're not anywhere closer to anything. And it's like, wow, those are heavy things. When I was behind the scenes only with my wife's business, so from like '09 to 2016, I was drinking and smoking a lot of weed. I call that
mhm.
mood alteration at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I realize now, so I made my first video in August of 2016. And I was at a personal development seminar, Kyle Cease, and I got challenged to do something that scared the hell out of me for 90 days. And I was like, I knew there were all these fake gurus just preaching lies. And I was like, somebody has to take them down. Like, clearly it's me. So I started making my first videos in August. By December of that year, I quit drinking. I quit
Mm,
smoking weed earlier on that path, but I no longer had a need or a desire to alter my state of being because I finally got in alignment with my creator, the inner creator that I am, that the I
yeah.
am that is I am. And it was so remarkable for me. And people are like, I don't even think about it. And I don't care if people drink at all. Like it is what it is for different people. I drink a lot. Like I liked really good scotch. I was doing pretty well. I was buying high-end scotch. I was buying really fancy beers. I was buying really nice wine. And I kind of was taking this connoisseur's approach, right? I'm a
Mm,
connoisseur of this.
yeah.
Like, oh, I can the front end on the nose. No, I
Yeah, yeah,
loved the
yeah.
buzz. I loved shifting my mood because I wasn't doing what I came here on this planet to do. And when I got in alignment with
Mm,
that from a personal perspective, the negative habits fell away. And then when that happened, better energy, more hydration, more clarity. I stammer
yeah.
less. I noticed in those early videos, I had more, and I could just see it on me. And
Mm.
because I was hungover, like if I did a video every day for 120 days, I was hungover for most of those, right? Like technically, you know, I'm traveling and I'm living in 20 different countries. I'm living in Mexico where everybody's doing margaritas for lunch. Like, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
I'm doing some
yeah.
margaritas for lunch. And like, you know, but the main point is this idea of alignment of kind of like following the path, but staying in tune with self and finding something that's like a bigger calling and a way to be of service at scale. God, that feels good. And
Yeah.
the doors can open, right? Because we live in the age of billions of people on these things, there's 6 billion searches a day on Google. There's 2 billion monthly logged in active users on YouTube. They're all searching for help. They're all searching for answers, and we get to get in alignment, and then you get the positive feedback that's usually more than the trolls. And it starts to feel good. It starts to open up. And powerful story, man. So at this point,
if I do want to touch on the alignment thing real quick,
for sure,
because something that I realized and I think has contributed to a lot of growth, and where you see a lot of that hockey stick in the chart happened when I really tuned into this. So most real estate is clinical, it's stuffy, it's guy in a suit telling you FHA guidelines. You know, it's a little it's not very attractive to a lot of people. It's very impersonal. And so I did a coaching course with a friend of mine he's a corporate coach, and he had a course that was very much about how to become authentic. And so his thing was like, elevate your edge. And your edge is this idea of like, what is your authentic self coming across? And I know we can hear that immediately and be like, okay, yeah, that's bullshit, and dismiss it. But it was crazy powerful, because I realized I can take what I do in my personal life, which is, I'm kind of in the ex-evangelical world where there's still a lot of openness with a lot of spirituality. And I'm kind of getting into a lot of right now with, therapy and understanding what is my nervous system and how do I function with my emotions and attachment styles and things like that. Just being very mindful of my emotions. And he was like, man, you bring that into real estate. And so I started talking about, in my real estate videos, talking about feelings, like talking about how somebody is feeling through this process. Hey, you might be feeling really overwhelmed and frustrated, or feeling like you're left behind. And like, I want you to know that's okay, because that's normal to feel that.
Right.
And when I started doing that, that's when there was this greater alignment, this resonance with other people who were like, that I like that,
he gets
because
me.
No one else.
The thought is from them. And so you're getting into deep copywriting psychology, also some really healthy fucking internal stuff too.
Yeah.
So thank you. But literally it's when like no one cares until they know you care, is one of the cliches around it. Right. And when you understand their emotional state and you connect with them on the emotional state, people jump to the conclusion of, well, if he really truly gets me and gets my challenge at this level, at the heart level, then clearly he knows the solution to my problem. And that's used in copywriting as well. And it's true, it's authentic, right? And it's like so much of this like truth that our world is built on, and how our world works and how we humans work within this like remarkably magic hologram potential. Like just it's incredible. Like if you really think about life, we're on a rock hurtling through space. Like nobody knows what the fuck's going on. Yeah. It's remarkable. We think we got problems with fucking money and like little things, and it's like just zoom out and nobody knows what's going on. But I think we're all here to help other people. And the Zig Ziglar quote that I just go to way too much, but it's so true, that you can have anything you want in this world if you help enough other people get what they want. Awesome. It's never been easier than now to help other people get what they want. I mean, I started my first videos on my cell phone that I had. This ain't even a flagship phone. I got like a $250 phone because I'm a cheap ass. Make 7 figures a year. And I'm like, new phone. Oh, that one works. It's fine. 32 gigs of memory, like random. Anyways, I really appreciate you sharing that. Any point you want to bring those types of insights back to this conversation, do it. Jump in, drop them. I would like to talk about your videos a little bit more specifically. Did your set always look so damn good? I mean, good Lord, man, you're like, that is boss mode you got going on over there.
Dude, I don't know how people like, I was working in an office with a bunch of other realtors and loan officers, and they always lived in these bright fluorescent drop ceiling, gray walls, metal desks. I'm like, how do you're in here for 10 hours a day? And that's why I was like, I'm in here for such a long period of time. I want this to look nice. And so my old office had like the dark walls. And then I just moved to a new office space, and I have my office in another room. And so this is my kind of studio setup. I made like a more permanent setup so I can have, space for this freaking huge light over here and things like that. But that was one of those things where it's like, me internally has to be reflected externally. And so one of those things is, I try to bring a lot of calm into my life. And one of those ways is like, even through this is like
environments.
I want what people see to evoke a sense of calm when they're watching, because we're going to be talking about some information that's going to be triggering and be stressful and might be overwhelming. And so how do I make it feel like, I want you to feel like you're kind of sitting at home with me. You're sitting in like a little den or a library, or not library, a living room or something with me. I got a fake window. This isn't real. This is a light. Like this is a little light hanging out
That's
here. That turns on and
awesome.
off. Pointed at a mirror. But just to, give the feeling of like what can I do to make this feel a little bit more cozy and calm.
Are you in a
For
commercial
people
space
watching.
right now? Or is this at your home?
Yeah. Yeah. Commercial office building.
Got it. So
Yeah.
now that you're not originating, so this isn't a part of the loan office. This is just like Kyle.com type, like you personally rent
This
this
is Win the
like,
House You Love LLC.
okay, perfect. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you have your own space and now you're building out the different rooms to serve different purposes within that space. Now, your first videos, was it like, I'm just going to start on my cell phone and go? Like you're clearly on a
yeah.
DSLR right now. And you clearly have a really good microphone that's an XLR microphone. So you've got like the 50 millimeter, that blurred background, like your shots dialed.
Don't start with this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did. Recorded with not this phone, but yeah, just use my iPhone. I was walking through my neighborhood, and everyone stared at me like I was a freak because we have my neighborhood. Everyone walks around, and I'm there like, hey, this is. And then after that, I bought like a cheap $600 camera. Well, in the camera world, $600 is cheap. And yeah, bought a camera because I was like, this is my thing that I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna invest in this because I know this is gonna keep me to commit to it. Maybe some people it doesn't work that way. For me, it did. And I'm familiar with like the guitar world. I know that if you buy a bad guitar, you're not gonna want to play it.
Right.
So I was like, I kind of need to get something a little maybe middle of the road. So I got that and used that camera for a year and a half.
Is it like the
I did most
7 or something, or
it was a Fuji XT20.
Okay, so point and shoot, a point and shoot camera.
Yep.
Like not like a SLR, not like lens changes, just like a little kind of a little box that you.
I think you could change lenses, but it wasn't like a big DSLR kind of deal.
Got it. And so then you would just walk around pointing that at yourself. And did you get a tripod at this point in time, or is that kind of what you started to stack on?
I did eventually get a tripod, and I set it up in front of my desk at work. And so I kind of made a whole setup where I was like, I knew that I had to reduce the friction to be able to record that with that frequency. So even like changing batteries, I was like, I can't do. I'm going to buy an adapter to put in this camera. SD card, too much work. So I bought a little, whatever that thing's called. Yeah, like a cam link. I have like a UTAP and just plug it into the camera. So it goes record straight to the computer.
Straight to USB, straight to your computer.
And so when I would want to record, like my work day was here on the left. When I wanted to record, all I had to do was go press record on my computer and pivot this way and look at the camera and start.
Right.
And I kind of cheated in the beginning because I would have notes, right? I'd write notes on my little notepad and have them right on the desk in front of me. Because I'm not going to go and try to memorize a video. I knew if I was doing this many, I was like, there's no way. I'm gonna have to have notes in front of me. So, and to my surprise, no one cares. No one cares if you look down at your notes. If you're giving good information, great. And then that slowly evolved into, it's that you're flexing that muscle, you're practicing over time. And so you're learning little ways. What can I do? It's a little bit better, a little bit more helpful for people. And when AdSense started paying enough that I was like, oh, I can go buy a really nice camera. So I bought this guy. And this is more for creative fun than it is anything else. Video is a hobby for me. I think it's fun.
This is the art, like you even mentioned it earlier, right? Like there is, there's a hip hop, his name's The Grouch. I love his music. Very inspirational, law of attraction kind of stuff. And he's like, business is my ART, right? Like business is my art, like literally how I build the things. And within that, we're able to have little artistic threads they're creative endeavors that don't really change much, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's good and fun to geek out on these little subsets. One of the challenges is people start to think like, okay, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to commit. Kyle's got me all fired up. I'm going to go spend, I was about to say $2,700, but honestly, today you could spend $15,000 to deck out a set before they ever make a video.
Don't do it.
And it's so easy to buy the gear and it's so difficult to do the work. And I like that you had a progress of, let me just do it enough over. And then, okay, so now I'm dictating clearly, maybe I should work on this next thing. What's the next thing? Lighting is usually one of the things, audio, right? And if you're on an iPhone, just even getting like the Shure MV88 that plugs into the iPhone, bingo, the iPhone just lights up. I will say, it's pretty amazing what you can do with an iPhone these days. As far as like a recording device and a lens and a camera with a Shure MV88 mic on it, all my outdoor stuff when
Yeah.
I'm away from my fancy Logitech webcam that I'm still using to this day. Everything I do outdoors looks 10 times better, and it's just on a freaking iPhone 11, iPhone 10, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think you develop a style that people start to like. They get a comfort with it, right? Like when I watch a Miles Beckler video, I'm used to what it looks like, and there's a comfort there. If it started changing, not that it would be bad, it would just take a little bit to get used to,
Yeah. Oh,
right? And
Miles
sort of be
getting all
this,
fancy over here. Look at that.
yeah,
Blurred backgrounds.
yeah, and there's becomes like this thing that I think people become familiar with, and like so what I started moving into is I took like the notes that I had in front of me and I started doing them on my iPad, and then I was like, I can record this. Are you familiar with Dr. Berg, his YouTube channel?
I'm not.
He does like keto stuff, but dude's got like 4 million subscribers, and his thing that he used to do was he would have a smart board right behind him,
Okay.
and so he would do these. He's a brilliant marketing YouTube guy because he will do these small videos, like these 4-minute videos, and they're all in very niche topics. And he'll do like 3 a day, but he has all the notes written up on screen. You don't need them there. You can literally pause the video, got it, and leave. But it's him 4 minutes just explaining what's on screen, and he'll just put little check marks next to it and everything. And I was like, this is brilliant because planning for the video is I don't have to be good necessarily on video. I just have to talk through the notes. And so I was like, I don't have money for a smart board, but I do have an iPad. And so I was like, I can screen record my iPad, throw the notes up on screen. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent videos I do. My style now is I'm on one side of the camera,
leave space
and
for
the
it
other
in
side,
post-production.
the other side is my iPad. And so you see me talk through, write through the notes right on screen. And so it adds this visual element without you having to do like, I don't have to go into Final Cut and add text and animations and all this stuff on top of it. It's just a very quick, I write my notes down. I don't have to practice my video because I'm just talking through notes. I record it, put it together, and the whole video is done. It has, a graphic element to it for a lot of visual learners, especially with a lot of math that goes on in real estate. And it's just become like a kind of my style now, that people are slowly starting to rip off. But that's fine. You go for it because I think it's just helpful for a lot of people.
It is. And for everyone listening and watching, what we're talking about now, to give you perspective, is we're talking about his process without calling it the process. And he's discovered processes in, from like, I push button, like I'm 2 clicks away from turning on my camera and recording, right? So I have light, always there. They do not move. They're always there. This mic swings over here. This is the exact same workstation I work from. So and the camera's on my monitor, that's 100% because friction elimination. If I make it difficult, if it's a 30-minute setup to get my studio ready, I ain't gonna do it. So I had to learn to live with it around. And then there's the process. So that's getting me into the moment where I click record. Then there's, once I click the record button, how do I deliver content from notes, just sharing helpful information. One of the reasons I've kept my video quality somewhere hovering around 720p on purpose is just to really prove that you can grow a big ass channel and a super successcul brand without the tech, right? And the microphone audio is one thing that I just I'm kind of an audio geek. My wife does audio stuff anyway, so I bought 50 plus microphones in my day.
I will say everyone wants to upgrade the camera. The audio is where it's at. Like, 100%. Okay, don't buy this mic. This mic is way too expensive. I use this for like music recording. This is like a $700 mic, so don't buy don't think you have to get this.
Yep, that's for your guitars and your other passions. But your
mic,
business also paid for that.
Yeah, you can get a killer microphone for $100.
Yep.
And there's this perception that happens where your video looks so good just because you have good audio. Because you could have 100%. The nicest camera in the world and you use really bad. You just use the camera mic or whatever, and your video is still not going to look good just because it doesn't sound good.
100%. And that's where, and like the iPhone idea, it does even really good in low light, right? Like the iPhone can handle, and it does it on the processor level, but the iPhone really manages low light situations and kind of like hit and miss light, to where literally there's a $170 plug-in mic. It's a lightning port, Shure MV88, that's enough to get people going. A good USB mic, I think, for most people starting out. I'm on like a high def Logitech webcam with I'm using XLR. I think most people can get like a good USB direct microphone. Again, just simplify the process down, right? No audio interfaces, just because it's not about that. It's about what gets delivered and becoming competent at sharing ideas that other people find useful and helpful.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your top videos right now, so of all times. And one thing I want to say that I think looks really healthy about your channel. So for everybody watching, the channel link will be obviously in the description of however you're consuming this, but it's Win the House You Love on YouTube. And then I click on videos, and then on top right, there's sort by, and I sort by your most popular. And so your number one most popular video is 5 months old. A lot of times in channels, which this tells me you're entering into another growth phase, or you're experiencing, you're at some point on a very, very strong growth phase. Your second most popular video was from 6 months ago. Third is 2 months ago. Then a couple from a year, 8 months, 5 months, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. For most people, they're out of their top 10. You're going to find a lot of videos from 3, 4, 5 years old. And what that does is it shows like what part of the growth phase are you in at this point in time. And it's really exciting that you're 3 years in, not even 3 years in, 2018. So you're less than 3 years in, and you're really hitting a growth stride. Like that chart looks like the hockey stick.
Yeah.
Looks like we're at the top of the hockey stick. Like Bitcoin's at all-time high. It's like, no. Bitcoin got a lot more running room to do.
Yeah.
And this hockey stick can continue. Do you know who Whiteboard Finance is? Marco?
Yeah. Yep.
So he's a student as well. And God, that dude, like, he's crushing it, 600 something thousand. And he found his style, which was a whiteboard to just share his ideas. And there was some figuring out how to create videos, figuring out how to share what he knows. He's just really dialed into the zone of, I'm a creator. I'm just going to keep showing up for my audience, creating. And it's amazing what can continue to happen.
Absolutely.
Any ideas, or can you share anything in the RPM numbers and what kinds of revenue you make from ads on your videos? Do you know those numbers?
Yeah, I know that. So in the real estate mortgage world,
Yep.
CPMs and RPMs are really high.
I assume so.
CPM hovers somewhere around 35 to 40. In the past 30 days, it's been trending around 38. And then RPM, I believe, is around 20.
Cool.
Somewhere around there. I could double check that. I believe it's around, sitting around there. So
when you get a video coming up, sorry, dude, I'm gonna do some math here because I'm just a geek and this is personal. So I'm looking at
RPM is 22.
Okay, so 435,000 divided by 43.5 times 22, right? Yeah, that would be 43.5 times. I did that wrong on my calculator. Damn. So that's upwards of $1,000 in ad revenue from a banger video, right? And so it doesn't start there. That's where we get to once the momentum's on our side. But boy, to be able to build, so in the early days, you're making videos and your way of monetizing said action was very direct, right? Like, I'm the most helpful guy, sign up with me, professional services, let's go. That got the treadmill up to a point where you had the kind of, you started to get into a level of awareness of, is this healthy long-term? Do I want to carry on with this long-term? I love this side of my business. I don't love that side of my business. Where's the pivot? I started a membership program at one point on my path. Haven't opened that thing in 8 months and have no plans to, because it doesn't feel great to me. Right. I have all this infinite freedom. I can do anything I want right now. And like that, it feels like a drag. It gets in my head when I'm out walking and when I'm out supposed to be playing. It's like gnawing at me. And I'm like, this is not worth it for me. So I'm pivoting. And along this path that you're pivoting, you're still making content. You're refining the process of recording. You're getting better as a communicator and as an educator, really embodying this most helpful person in your space, really being a creator, standing in the image and the likeness of the creator. And now what used to be done as like, this might work, I'm gonna dabble with this might help me get a little business over here, it's actually become its own thing. It's actually become a hyper valuable business. I mean, if most people watching this, if I was like, if you made a video today and made $1,000, would you make a video today? Most people watching would be like, aye, Captain, what shall I make it on? And so people want the result and the process. How many videos have you published total? I don't think we got that number.
Somewhere around 260-ish.
Damn, killing
it.
So
we're still very early in the game.
Very early. So let's talk about topics and stuff then. So you've done 260 videos, because one thing that people get to is they're waiting on the sidelines to start. They're trying to see how everything fits before they start. They're trying to know what
Right.
3 pivots they're going to make in 2 years before they start. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, just freaking go. It'll appear. And
Yeah.
sometimes the feedback hits us like a ton of bricks, and it can be uncomfortable, but as long as we're observing the feedback. Have you ever felt challenged for coming up with an idea for a video? How do you get your video
Yeah.
topic ideas? What do you talk about, and how do you know when and what to create content on?
It's harder now. It's harder when you have an audience of people to make content, because you all of a sudden take on all this extra pressure that you shouldn't. It's nice when you're almost making it for a ghost town, because you're like, I can make whatever I want. So what I did a ton in the beginning was I learned it called the alphabet soup method. You can call it whatever you want. You're literally just looking at YouTube search results, predictions. Like I can go type in autocomplete, right?
Perfect.
So what I learned to do was like, okay, I can go type in real estate space and then the letter A and then the letter B and the letter C. And I can see all these topics of what is being ranked in there. And then what you can go do is I can see, okay, let's say it's real estate investing. I'll make videos on investing, but real estate investing. Then let me go, and that's probably too big of a keyword for somebody to target in the beginning, but let's say you did real estate investing. I would look at the top 3 to 5 videos, and you get to kind of crowdsource your video, because I can see what did they include, what did they not include, what did the comments like, and what did they not like. And then I can go make a video better than the top 3 videos that includes all the things that people wanted through the comments. And then that's going to give me a much higher chance of outranking those videos, right? If YouTube's like, here's my 3 best videos, and then I come in and I'm like, cool, I got all those 3 videos combined plus more. Why wouldn't YouTube put it right to the top?
Hashtag winning.
Yeah.
Dude, I hope so. I know there's a segment of people who didn't listen to this far in the audio, because like we all have drop off rates and we can see it. They all just missed the fucking gold.
Yeah.
Like you just laid it out right there. And it's like, it's so simple. It's like, okay.
Wait, let me go back. I want to charge a membership for that.
There you go. Right. Let's put this into I bet we could charge $1,997. We could make a really hypey webinar. We'll go get Lambos. We'll park in front of them. We'll flex in front of our Lambos, and then we'll sell it aggressively.
I'm so down.
Gosh. We're onto something. But no, it's like, so the platform you've committed to is YouTube. So you're literally like, okay, I'm going to type in the broadest keyword, and it'll vary over time because you follow all those little rabbit holes, and some of them you're just like, I don't want to do that, or that's not relevant. And then you're like, all right, what about investors for a while? And maybe you have a conversation with an investor, or you see 3 or 4 people in your comments who are like, how does this apply to investors? And you're like, oh, okay. So then you start to add the investor keyword in. And again, you're just banging on YouTube to get the suggestions from the autocomplete. Then you're like, this idea, cool. That's my next video. So then you do this, man, this is a really novel idea. You do research on what's already working. Oh my gosh, why would anybody ever do research? You don't just turn on the camera and record. So you research what works. You pay attention to their titles, their descriptions. Do you right click view source and look at their keywords, which are their tags, or do you use like TubeBuddy to swipe their tags? Okay.
I have learned in all of like YouTube's, I've read through all of YouTube's
they don't care about tags at all.
Help articles and everything. It just seems like they don't care about tags. And I had this idea for an analogy the other day that I think perfectly describes the YouTube algorithm, and I haven't heard anyone else describe it, so I'm a little proud of myself for this analogy. Okay. So like YouTube used to be like focused on your video. They used to be focused on like, what did Kyle create? What was his title? What was the click-through rate? What was the description? What were the keywords that he was using? What are these LSI keywords, which are like basically semantic keywords? How do they relate to each other? Yeah, it cared all about that stuff. But then there was a switch that happened when Google started realizing, oh, they can use machine learning to understand user behavior. And so now, even if you look through all of like YouTube's training articles, they explicitly say, we don't care about your video. We don't care about your title. We don't care about your description. Don't care about your tags. We do not give a damn about your video. In fact, we barely even look at it. We care about how the user interacts with it. And so the analogy that I'd like to give is, for instance, like if I'm trying to think what's the best for the viewer watching this. Let's say I'm watching a TV and I'm watching you on Zoom right now.
Okay.
And let's say you're YouTube and I'm the viewer. And what most people assume, they assume YouTube's over here and they're looking back and forth. They're looking at the video and at the person. And most of the time they think they're looking at the video. What kind of video am I watching to see, is it good or bad? Should I continue ranking or not? And instead, YouTube is only looking at me.
Your behavior.
All YouTube's doing is looking at me and saying, is he laughing? Is he engaged? Or when all of a sudden I saw the light flicker, did he go down on his phone, or did he want to switch another video? YouTube doesn't even care. They're like blind to the video. They're just looking at the person and saying, what did they do? What are you doing with the video that's behind me that I can't see? Oh, you like it? Cool. I'm going to give it a +1. Like that's what the algorithm is doing. And so it takes off the pressure of, there isn't this game. There's no game to figure out with the algorithm. It turns YouTube into, it's no different than the skill of speaking in public.
Yeah.
It's no different than the skill of you being an engaging person when you talk to other people in person. So now what do I then do to become a better communicator? It's not how do I rig the system to be good on YouTube. It's simply how do I communicate a message that's compelling to somebody? That's what's going to get an audience sticking around, because if people respond well in that way, YouTube all of a sudden says, this person's a great communicator. Yep. Whatever they're doing over here is really causing impact to these kinds of people. And we're going to continue pushing that, because that's the reaction that I want in the YouTube platform.
And like, this goes right back to what you were saying earlier about that connecting with people on an emotional level, right? Like when every other YouTuber is just barking at them and you're really connecting with them on the emotional level, they're hooked in, which means their average view duration probably goes up, which means their likelihood of engaging with the video goes up. And these are all of the metrics, right? The fall off rate and how many people are like, where's your 50% mark? And it does start at the result page or suggestion on your click-through rate on your thumbnail and your click-through rate on your title, right? The promise of the video. And when you simmer it down, YouTube has to find a way to try to allow the cream to rise to the top, and user behavior is the best barometer, right? Like of all the search engine algorithms and the measuring the word counts and the measuring all the data that they could get from on-page technical stuff doesn't even come close to how many people click back within 7 seconds. Oh, a lot of people are clicking back because like the first 30, because they got a 9-minute dubstep intro. Like, oh, maybe we shouldn't show this to a lot of people because it creates a poor viewing experience for people interested in this topic. There's a tiny bit of relevance required, right? Like if you have to have the right words in the title and the description.
I should clarify. Right? The title and description and stuff definitely matters. But it matters to since it matters to the user, it changes the viewer's behavior. It's more of like YouTube's not saying like, oh, he put FHA in there 10 times. Like we're going to rank it over the person who put it in there 9. It's since my title was clear and compelling to somebody who is interested in that, then all of a sudden it increases somebody's likelihood to continue watching the video, and then that ranks it a little better. And surveys are huge.
You're delivering on the promise, right? So a keyword is there's intent. There's a human being. So you're getting YouTube to auto suggest these ideas for you. And then out of those auto suggestions, you're like, okay, so this is the exact phrase that YouTube thinks people who type in real estate also. So real estate loan disclosure agreement explained, like, oh, okay, cool. That's a thing they look for. So the first way that YouTube measures a video has to be the on-page parameters, right? Because before they display it to anyone, there's no data yet. So they're like, what is the relevance of this? And then immediately it triggers over in all of those engagement factors and those engagement things. And there is a little bit of both. What happens is people get way too addicted to trying to game the algorithm and they forget about the human. And there's 2 audiences at all times. And this is the exact same on blogging and Google. There's 2 audiences and we have to appease both of them. But the human is the most important because the human is how you sell mortgages. The human is how you actually get sponsors willing to pay you because your people trust you, right? And that's a human to human thing. And I think as people grow, they let go of those SEO hacks and tricks and they start to get into the I'm just really going to deliver for my people. And I'm just really going to take all these ideas more granular, better than anyone has done before. And that will win over time. It's just a matter of time before I win. The one other thing in your research phase that's worth talking about again here is ultimately you go into the comments on the videos. Now, YouTube is going to rank the comments and show the most thumbs up
comment generally up top below the pinned comment. So
Mhm.
if one person has a question or thinks something was missing and everyone else who watches that video thinks something was missing and they all thumbs up it, you're going to see pretty quickly on your top competitor videos what people liked and what people didn't like about the video, which
Right.
means
Yeah.
you can include and improve. How do you improve? So there's the skyscraper method of go find content that's working and make a better version of it. Well, how do I know it's better? Look in the comments. They'll tell you.
It's crowdsourced right there for you.
Yeah, literally, it really is.
They'll literally be like, this is missing, or you took too long to explain this, or I wish you mentioned this. And it's like, I'll literally sit there. I'll have YouTube search results on this page, notes on this page, and I'm just writing it down. Here's and then I use that to go construct my video. And obviously you're not just copying and pasting stuff over. But what I can do is I can make sure I include all of it. And then I get to, I think what's helped me succeed is like, there's an element to real estate that I convey that most other people don't. Everyone always in real estate goes surface level. And I was like, I'm going to go super granular. I'm going to show everybody all the junk that is in here. I'm going to tell you all the guidelines, because that's
lift up the rug. Look at what's been swept under the rug by everybody else.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to show you what everyone else isn't showing you. Not that they're being, they're trying to hide things from you, but they're just they think
it's just the way it was.
We think people are. I've learned that a lot of people think people are dumb, and they think people don't want to take ownership of the information. They're not interested. And I think of myself when I really want to learn something. It's like, I want all the granular details. Tell me all the behind the scenes stuff. I want to learn how the products that make the product were made. And why would I assume that somebody else doesn't want that same thing? Right. And so it's like, I feel like I'm almost creating videos for myself in a way of like, what would I want if I was looking for this? And I want these really structured, detailed things that everyone thinks they can't talk about because it would be too boring and no one's going to watch. It's like, man, my top video is almost just under 500,000 views within the past, I think 4 or 5 months. And it's 30 minutes on FHA loan requirements. That's the most boring video. It's literally about, hey, the front end debt to income ratio is this, and the back end debt to income ratio is this, and appraisal requirements. They check health and safety and the railing and the windows. It's like, that's boring, but so many people watch it and gain information from it. And I think we have to recognize, like, we can't assume, or I don't think we're going to succeed if we assume the people that we're trying to work with are dumb, or that they don't care, or that they're not as invested as we are. Because what I'm trying to do is attract the people who are interested. They want to take ownership of this process. Those are the people who I can help the most.
Right. And your second most popular video is the USDA loan requirements, right? And it's these gritty, and then your fourth was the USDA loan from the year before, right? And it is this gritty depth that most professionals are like, nobody wants to learn about that stuff. They just want to know, like housing it's a monthly number. How much is it going to cost? Can I qualify? How much can I qualify? What's the monthly number? That's all people need to know. Because that's no. They need to know whatever they need to know to get confident, to get comfortable with the process, to be ready to pull the trigger. And there's like layers of, we like bounce back from logic, emotion. And we build these logical arguments that get our emotional rationalities to go high enough to be like, okay, I am ready to buy a $500,000 house. And like, okay, how much down can I do a 5% down on 500,000? Like, cause that's 5% to 20%. That's a big freaking difference in the size of the check you have to write. And please.
Yeah. And I think that's like, that comes down to that edge thing. Like, what is the unique thing that you're bringing to the table? Because for some people, like, they'll succeed and it's not this gritty depth. I know somebody else who has a really, I know other people have super solid channels and it's not necessarily super in depth, but they have other angles that they take. It's like, what's the most authentic way for me to express myself is like, I'm going to bring both this strange mix of analytical mathematics and also the emotionality of it too. And that's just like my thing. That's how I express myself authentically. And so for people watching and trying to figure out like, what is their angle, it doesn't have to be, if you're not super in-depth and analytical and gritty, then don't do it. But figure out like, how do I express myself through this? What is the way that I communicate naturally with other people, or that I want to? What resonates so deeply within me that's like, if I don't express it in this way, something's going to die. Because if I just communicate content in the way that I think people want it, instead of the way that I actually need to bring it into the world, it's never going to resonate. It's not going to resonate with me. It's not going to resonate with other people. And I won't stick with it for a long period of time. It's only until I can actually come into those alignment pieces of like, what aligns truly with me? How do I then express that? the video just becomes the medium for me to express that. And that will align with so many more people and resonate with so many more people. And then you'll actually start seeing growth from that. And it's this weird mix of like, I know people want, just give me the strategies and tell me I need to put tags here and then my video is going to skyrocket. Yeah. There's a lot of internal work. Like you're going to have to do the internal work for you to be able to see the growth and the alignment and all of these things falling into place as what you do starts to gain traction with other people.
So a lot of different learning styles. I mean, the educational system that you and I both went through here in the States, like pretty much tries to force everyone through the round hole, right? I don't care if you're a square peg. I don't care if you're a triangular page. This is what you get. We're gonna break you into being a factory worker. No more factories. But so there's lots of different learning styles. You have a learning style. The way you're creating content reflects with your learning style. It's a lot easier to go with what works for you, right? You're not trying to be something you're not. You're just literally like, you entered the space, you decided that learning the granular, gritty details was helpful for you, and then you started sharing that. And then there's a layer of birds of a feather flock together. So there's room in your niche for multiple creators for each learning style. And then we do business with people we like. There's the birds of a feather flock together idea. So then people find who has a similar learning style. So your clients and your audience often has a very similar learning style to yours, and it's all gray areas. So there's these like overlaps of it. And ultimately you're doing your thing. The people who are most similar to that find your content. They're like, this dude's great. I like him because he communicates in a way that I get it. It's not oversimplified or it's not over my head. He hits that sweet spot for me. Therefore, he's my trusted advisor.
Yeah.
And me with my channel, I'm like, do the freaking work. It's a lot of work. The lifestyle's remarkable. Like you could do really big things with it, but do the work. I'm going to be the do the work. I'm going to keep showing up as an example. I'm going to show you how much work. I'm going to take on building entirely new websites that are a total distraction from my main business to show yet again that it can be done in a total unique niche, and do the work and do the work and do the work.
Yeah.
And I attract people who are willing to do the work, people who are still thinking that maybe there's a shortcut and maybe there's a click button magic internet thing that can make magic internet passive income. They just don't resonate with me, because they'll finally catch a video where like, this guy makes it sound like it's way too much fucking work. I'm going to go look for somebody who makes it sound easy. Bye. Because go, and they'll fall into the traps of the greedy gurus. I can't help everybody, but for my people who are like, I want change in my life. I want a better life. I want to build a life as a creator. I want to build a life with location independence that has no ceiling to the upside potential. And I'm willing to do the freaking work. They find my stuff and they're like, oh, finally, somebody's just straight shooter and somebody's telling me what it is. And they're showing me the data and they're showing me how the path works. And now I can move forward confidently and not feel like, oh, I've put out 100 videos and I only got 100 subs. This stuff doesn't work. Like, no. It's just fucking annoyingly long journey full of like,
you got to prove it. You got to prove that you can be here for this audience. I feel like the most helpful phrase that I've learned in the past like 2 weeks. Are you familiar with Rob Bell?
No.
Rob Bell, he has a podcast. He's kind of a spiritual teacher-esque. He did this Zoom call with a couple other people that I hopped on about the business and spirituality and tying them together. And one of the phrases he brought in was structure serves spirit. And too often we do it the other way around. And so this can be applied to so many different things. But even with the videos that you're crafting, if we think about, if I align with what is spirit, how do I want to express myself? Even for people who are, maybe non-spiritual, what is the thing? What is it? How do you function and exist and want to show up in the world? Everything should be serving that. Yeah. And too often we do the thing where I have to get on Instagram and I have to do videos this way and I have to put tags in that way. If that, like, those things should serve the spirit, and the spirit should not serve the structure. Yeah. So I don't have to go out and do all these logistical things and then figure out how do I then fit into those. It becomes, I want to show up in a very specific way, help people in this specific way. If the structure doesn't work for it, then it's gone. It's the same thing like you were talking about with the memberships. If the memberships are not serving the spirit, if it's causing this junk to be sitting here while I want to be clear and present, well, it's the other way around. Like the spirit is now serving the structure of the membership, and something needs to change there where that has to get cut off. And that was very helpful for me because like I deleted Instagram doesn't serve serve how I want to show up. And so I don't need that structure. And guess what? It didn't change anything. It wasn't,
Right.
didn't change how beneficial it was.
And
I
or
used
it
to have,
gave you more focus, and or it
yeah,
closed this loop and this cord of this weird. I mean, Instagram is remarkably dangerous from
yeah, yeah,
a well-being of health, and like suicide rates amongst younger folks it's clear how that's trending, and it's very, very scary. So it's through elimination sometimes that we can get greater clarity, greater peace, greater kind of like just
right.
in tune with what we're doing, and therefore what comes out of that reaches the next level. What was that phrase? I wrote structure follows spirit, but I think it was different than that. What was the actual phrase?
Structure serves spirit.
Serves. Yep. And everybody wants to get to that blissful place where they're in alignment, they're doing something they enjoy, they're getting positive praise for it, they're feeling of service, and they're earning enough income to live the lifestyle that they want. Like that's the goal. And it's like, awesome. What structures are we putting in place to get there? What are we willing to do to get there? Right. That's the
Yeah.
event. And there's just all these processes they're messy. They're unique for every individual. And that's something I think, and I'm so grateful for you to come on here, that we've showed is like, you've taken a very unique path to an awesome, successful point in 3 years. Man, the rest of your life, like, is going to be awesome, dude. Like literally, like you've so beyond this working, you've now become a true entrepreneur in the creative economy. You've become a
Mhm.
creator who bootstrapped from just a willingness to show up to do that. Like you are never you ain't never going to go hungry again. Right. Like even if this whole world goes away, even if the whole YouTube thing, like you get it now because you've done it on the path, and you understand these little bits that can only be learned in the messy middle, in the
Yeah.
challenging, in the
Yeah.
dark nights of the soul, and in the frustrations. And out of that, we can come out stronger. And I'm excited, man. Do you see yourself making other channels? Do you see yourself just all in on this one thing, just gung ho and just keep going? Like,
You know, I've
got lightning in a
considered it.
bottle.
Yeah.
Don't mess it.
Like you mentioned in the beginning, it's like it becomes dangerous because you're like, I can do so many different things. And I noticed myself kind of getting a little bit into that and how to reel back. I have I'm more in the tune of there's so much that I do want to help and be of service in this world. Um, so there's tons of really awesome projects and huge projects that I'm working on right now. One thing that I'm working on in the near future is like, everyone wants to do a course, but home buying as a course kind of sucks. So I was like, man, I'm gonna build an app, kind of a membership of sorts, but it's gonna be a one-time thing. I'm gonna build a fully built checklist for people. Everything from like, here's scripts to text your loan officer to changing the batteries in your smoke detector, and then give out calculators too that tell them what's the cheapest loan, because it just doesn't exist. So
Right.
that's one of the next things I'm working on. I have another thing that I'm working on too with a friend of mine that I can't really talk about now, but there's just the ideas that I'm trying to work on now are these like, how do I help people at an even bigger scale?
Yeah.
And not in a like me growing the channel thing, but in it just, I have ideas of ways that buyers can be helped that nobody is focusing on.
Right.
Either because they think there's not enough money there, or they don't care, or it's easier when people don't understand, which is the case for a lot of real estate. It's actually easier for them to close things when buyers don't have control or power in it. And I'm just trying to work on projects to give buyers the power back to what they're working on. And so that really excites me and energizes me. And so I think I'm going to stay around in this space for the good medium term future until
Smart.
there's something that there's nothing right now that catches my eye
Like a
enough that
higher
I could
calling
give a
type
ton
thing.
of energy to,
Yeah.
where I'm like, that's interesting enough, where it's all been like, oh, I could turn that into something. I'm just looking for that thing that's more of what I really want to give my energy to.
Yeah.
And right now this just feels in alignment with what I'm looking to do in the short term future.
And discernment is so powerful. So, my wife and I, we've been building her blog for 12 years now. At the 10-year mark, and I know that feels a long way away because it's over 7 years away for you right now, but you're still in your 20s, so that's not terrible. it's absolutely incredible at what the numbers do, right? So all the numbers I had in mind of 10 grand a month, we're going to get there, you know, like all my big, hairy, audacious goals, some people call
Right.
them. And I was really into goal setting and write out and your affirmations. I mean, we are doing magnitudes. I'm having days that are bigger than what I thought months would be, right? Like my
Yeah.
tax bill at this point is growing huge and I'm loving it. I'm like, cool, 6 figures every quarter. That just means I'm making, you know, $2-3 million a year, like literally like 7 figures a year. It's stupid, right? 6-figure monthly type, like, and that in my personal opinion, really is something that there's something about just sticking with it because you're learning the audience. What are their other needs? You're going to test other things for that same audience. And when we stay committed to one audience for 10 years, that is like, I think unlocking an insane amount of wealth.
Blows my mind thinking that you're at year 12 because, you know, being at year 3, I'm already like, you know, there's that thing. And I think a lot of this is scarcity too that happens. But there's that thing where I'm kind of like, maybe this is as big as it gets. And it's so I'm interested to see, you know, you're at 4, you've been doing this 4 times longer than I'm at. And so I'm interested to see like, man, what do the next 2 years look like? What are the next, I mean, shoot, 10 or 12 seems unfathomable, but it's going to be very interesting
and
to
that
see like, what that
negates
looks like.
my 2003 to 2009 period where I was starting and stopping and I was buying guru courses and I was chasing shiny objects for 7 years straight. Once we fall, that was, so I made my first money online in 03. And then in 09, we co-founded that website. 1 year, I was able to break free from my job and leave my job because I learned so much in all of those failures. And most of what I learned was just keep going in one direction, committed to one audience, just literally go all in on those people. They are all little divine spirits and they're all challenged with this problem and no one's being of service to them in this little world. Just go with it. It gets more and more difficult to keep showing up for that same audience at year 7 to 10, but that year 7 to 10, because you're like, man, I'm just like, I have like, really, am I still? And boy, the leverage. So I know I was at a mastermind in Vegas 2 years ago, I guess, with spiritual business owners. And there were several people doing 8 figures a year, which is $10 million or more per year. So that means they're making, you know, $850,000 a month. Several of them were doing like $1.5 million to $3 million per month. And they're just partying and hanging out. Every single one of them had been working on that one business, that one thing relentlessly for over 10 years. And that was my biggest takeaway. They all talked and I heard all the words that they were saying. And I was like, that's the actual truth. 15 years. Just literally like it's a job. Their job was, how do I be of greater service to this audience? How do I be of greater service to this audience? And so difficult to keep that like, but I love sim racing and I could write off my sim racing rig and I love archery and I could make an archery site and I could write off all my bows and arrows. Like, oh Jesus, come on, Miles. Like,
and for me, it was basically 2 years of work because it wasn't until November that I had, and even then, like I was making less money from YouTube than my expenses were. So I took a little bit of a bath for a few months until it kind of evened out. And then it kind of grew a little bit more exponentially, but it's like, that was 2 years worth of work that I didn't make any money. Like there was some income coming in, but it didn't, it certainly was not enough to pay the expenses that I have. And, you know, I'm a single guy living in Dayton, Ohio. Like my expenses are very low, right? So it's like, you know, even that is okay. 2 years worth of work. Are you willing to do that to see some trade-off happen? And, you know, for some people that timeline is going to be a lot different. It's going to be shorter. Some people it's going to be longer, but you know, how committed are you to that audience? And it really just is something that just exponentially speeds up over time. But like you mentioned, so many people just want tell me the things to do so it blows up. It's like, it just doesn't really work that way.
Go be the most helpful person in your space. Like really go all in on your people. And if that means reading 3 books to write a couple of epic blog posts, eventually everything you learn in those 3 books will come out in all 50 or 100 blog posts. But it literally is like, we are researchers who create answers to searchers, right? So our audience are the people searching on YouTube, even if they're looking at the suggested videos or they're searching on Google. And what are they searching for? Answers, solutions, how-to type things. And we take time to research for them. So my research phase was 03, made my first dollar online, till 2016, I made my first $1 million online. Jesus, that was a very long path. Like but I learned. So that was my research phase. And then the videos started coming out, like I turned on a freaking fire hose, right? And bingo. So Or other people who are like, man, I'm just learning as I go. Read the books, teach as you go, like learn, do, teach, right? There's a way to take it to that approach too. I mean,
Yeah.
you stepped into the mortgage world. Like, did you come from a real estate family? Did you just choose like mortgages? That sounds smart. I'll
Yeah.
do that out of college. Or
Both
did
my
you go to college?
grandpa, I did go to college. I graduated in finance, had no clue what I wanted to do. Went and worked for high school for a year. My dad and grandpa are both realtors, and
Okay.
he started a mortgage company. He knows really nothing about mortgages other than being in real estate. Like, he doesn't know how to operate a mortgage company. But he was
You
like,
knew
"Yeah,
there was
you'd
money
be-"
there. So I'm just going to go
Yeah.
lock down a little bit of this transactional
Right.
value.
And for
Smart.
me, it was like, I have a degree in finance, and there's a good amount of money to be made here. I was like, I could probably be good at this, and because it's this mix of like sales and numbers too.
And education.
Yep. And I was like, oh, this is, and then, you get to see it from a fresh perspective. And I was like, ooh, there's more ways that I can help here than just being in this role.
Yeah.
There's a lot more help that needs to be done. A lot of services or products or just education that needs to be here, because there's big gaps that people aren't addressing because they're too busy or they're just making more money on the other side. But there's something that gravitated me towards what's happening in these gaps. So what can I do? I want to fill in these gaps in between what people are going through, because there's so much frustration and overwhelm and stress happening in there. And I was like, I think I have some solutions to make this a little bit easier.
The older generations have moved forward doing things the way that's just how we've always done things. And like, I feel like I'm a part of the younger generation that, I grew up around computers. I grew up with the internet from, a very, very young age. My dad was kind of early in tech in the Bay Area where I grew up. And like, we are like, why do y'all do it that way? Like
right.
this, I think this,
we've always done
like,
it.
like what, but that's just how we done it. Like, why? Like, what the really? And now we're in the information age, right? And everybody at the tip of our fingers, we can ask questions. And so like, I've noticed one of the things with my parents, they don't like search for reviews like Melanie and I do, right? They'll go somewhere and they'll just kind of like, they'll happen chance into a restaurant type thing. We never would happen chance into a restaurant. Like, oh, that sign looks good. We'll pull over here and see what that's like. That place looks cute. Like, let's go ambiance. We'll go there. And we're like, no, we're looking for what we, and there's this paradigm shift, and yet we now have the tools to kind of like, so there's the consumer side and then the engaging as a creator side. And if you have that question, like, why we always do what happens in here? Like, why don't we tell people about this? Or like, oh, it's just, they don't need to know that. Like, really? You don't think they want to know that? Like, I sold cars for a while, and the whole way we sold cars, it was through a wholesaler, and we cherry picked the best cars and sold them. And like, they didn't get that story out. And I'm like, why don't you guys tell? Nobody cares about that stuff. Like, really? Like, we have a warehouse full of like the coolest cars I've ever seen in my life, and you're not gonna tell the story. Nah, just tell. It's just a number. It's just a piece of inventory. And like, I took to writing stories. I took to creating ads that really painted the picture about how we found it and and things started working.
Yeah,
It's
all. I'll see if I have it.
Where's the book?
I got the Hero with 1,000 Faces. Where's it at?
Oh, the Joseph Campbell.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's in another room or something. But it's all that. It's all the story.
Yeah.
It's all. So many people are disconnected from their own story that they can't see somebody else's.
Yep.
And so you have to be able to see, like you mentioned, like tying into the story of, and not just from a trying to get people to take an action kind of thing, but like there's big life change that happens in everything that we do. Like if my work is just me trying to call somebody to action to do something, that's boring. That's an exhausting, frustrating, miserable life. But if I can begin recognizing like what I do causes life change for people, like great, that's a story that I want to be a part of in my own story. That's a story that I want to be a part of in somebody else's, guiding them through overcoming the problems that they're having, showing them what the next steps look like, painting what success looks like for them. That's just so much more fulfilling than this is what we've always done. Just sell it.
Yeah. And like the other side for people is, it's the biggest check they'll ever write. It's probably one of the most emotionally taxing transactions they're ever going to go through in their life. A lot of realtors are, man, I just sold a place in Sedona. We did really fucking well in that place. But like what some of the realtors were willing to say to their clients to try to just like move the deal forward so that real estate agent could just get a huge commission. I think it was 18 grand was their 3%, give or take. Right. Like 27 grand. Huge commissions, and like they were willing to just push things along. And these are real people. Like, this is a really big deal to them. It might be the one house that they raise their kid, and just honoring that for them and taking the time to be there and to really guide them through the process, like as a human to human. Like, it's crazy that got lost, and it did. And I'm kind of dwelling on this. It's like we're being really specific about your world, but I believe this is where our culture is. And I think every industry, the word disruption is thrown around a lot in Silicon Valley, right? Like Uber disrupted the taxi cab company, right?
Yeah.
But what we're doing with information as creators through blogs and YouTubes and podcasts is we're disrupting the flow of information. And it's no longer the good old boys gating it and hiding it, and you're on a need to know basis. So just do this. I'm going to push this through. We're like pulling the curtain away. We're showing people what's going on. And
you don't need money to get attention.
Not at all. You need effort and a willingness to keep showing up.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get I got like one last question for you. Before we get there, do you have a couple more minutes? Are you good?
I have a couple more. My niece was just born.
Oh my goodness.
So sorry.
Literally during the stream?
I've been probably 4 hours ago, but I've just been watching the time in which we're able to go over and see. So you're good. I got time for like one more question. We're not quite there, but I've just been watching the time.
Human being on this world. All right.
So sorry if I've been like looking over here a little bit.
Dude, the audio listeners won't even notice. We appreciate your time. So really quickly, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything technical? Is there anything in your marketing? Is there anything from a strategic level that why you have me here? Can I be of assistance to you in that world, in that side of things? I know that I literally didn't prime him for this question like an a-hole.
Yeah, but, it's a great question.
And if not, what I can do is, and since you got to go, let's do it this way.
Sure, I do have questions.
Email me. Like, you know how to get in touch with me. So that's my way of saying thank you. Or if you want to do another call where we hop on for like 30 minutes when you have more time. So what's let's just wrap this up. Dude, new being on this planet. That's blowing my mind. For someone who is either hesitating to start or they've been dabbling and they haven't committed yet. Like what is the words of wisdom that you're going to give them that we can kind of wrap this up on?
Yeah. Solidify why you're doing what you're doing. If it's just for, I want to make money and have this lifestyle thing, drop it right now. Like drop the thing that you're doing right now until you can really solidify why you're doing it, because this will not work unless you are committed to saying, I really want to help these people with this specific problem accomplish this goal. That is all that's happening on any platform, no matter it's on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, direct call to action, whatever it is. It's all the same thing. We're guiding people through the story that they're going through. They're somebody who wants something, they've encountered a challenge. What are you going to do to help guide them through that? And so I think you have to get really clear and say, like, do some really big internal work of, is this really what I want to do? Do I really want to help these people with this problem? And if not, then that's okay. There certainly are people with problems that you want to help. Take your energy and move it to that, because you're going to make more money, have more freedom, a better lifestyle, better alignment, more happiness, and serve more people by doing that than the thing that you're just thinking right now is going to make money. Because you might say, like, I don't want you to look at real estate and be like, high CPMs, I can make a bunch of videos and make a bunch of money. You're going to be miserable. It's the same thing with like originating is, when I was originating and starting to do YouTube, everyone was like, oh, just start and keep growing your origination thing, build a team, do more loans. And at that point, yeah, I did. I was thankfully going through tons of therapy at that point, but I had enough mindfulness to recognize, like, that's not the thing. I'm miserable now. And I'm going to be even more, I'm going to dial up the level of miserability. That's a word. Like, do the thing that you have this like deep knowing, this intuition. I know it can seem very weird on like, talk about marketing to get a little bit, there's just so much inner work that you can do where you're going to start to recognize, like, this is how I want to show up in the world.
Yeah.
Once you can figure that out and really push all of your energy into this deep knowing, this deep intuition of, this is how I want to exist, this is how I want to impact people, everything else starts to fall into place. Yeah. Everything becomes easier. There's still going to be friction and frustration, and you still need to learn some of the the tools of the trade, but that's the thing, that's the ticket to get to where you want to go. And so if that's not where you're at right now, if there's no alignment, just recognize it and be like, you know what, I probably need to come to terms with this isn't the direction.
Yeah.
But now let me give myself space cut off this direction, give myself space, and find the new direction that I need to get into.
100% agree. And for me, walks in nature, right? I meditate every day during the middle of the day. I sit on my back patio most afternoons when the weather's nice to just take time to just be with myself and to like hopefully hear that inspired thought, the little voice. Because some people are waiting to hear that voice before they start. And it's often a path of action in this direction because this is the best damn idea I got. Just originate loans. Okay, the best idea I got. Then something happens and we pivot from there, right? And these pivots can come through deep introspection. They can come from ideas we have on walks in nature. They can hit you in the shower, right? When we're just letting go of things and just, but listen to that, follow the pivot. It is an absolute evolution to get to where you want to go. And like, I'm so excited to hear how well you're doing with all of this. And I really appreciate your willingness to share kind of like some of that deeper mindset stuff, because that's the hidden dark side. I know a lot of 7 and 8 figure business owners who actually hate their fucking lives. Like no joke. And I know there's listeners here who are like, how could you ever make $350,000 a month or $900,000 a month and hate your life? They've just destroying relationship after relationship, absolute addicted to substances, more bigger substances, trying to shove Ferraris into holes inside of them, leading to less, like another Rolls Royce is going to make them drinking, tattooing themselves all up. Like it's just symbol after symbol.
Money is pointless. And it really is like, it's so weird to say, but it is. And isn't there that study that's like, and obviously there's caveats and things like this, but isn't there the study like after you make 75,000, there's really no greater thing. And that's for me, like I ran into that. I was like, I made, within my first year of originating, I made 6 figures. So I went from college to making like 30 to making 6 figures. But then I was at my all-time, lowest depression. And I was like, I'm supposed to be happy. What the heck? I'm a single guy making 6 figures. Why am I miserable?
This is what every generation, this is what the system, right? That factory educational system, the brain, the programming that we all see, like this is the way to happiness. But like, honestly, like you could probably live a really freaking good life in Ohio for $8,000 a month, right? Like there's areas out there that you can live really, really well. So like at that point, and the
that's
index
like high income earners around here.
It's huge, right? And so what he's talking about is from $0 to $75,000 a year, happiness goes up relative to the income. Okay, so from 20 grand a year to 50 grand a year, that's a large increase in happiness. But once people hit 70 grand a year, above that to $250,000 a year, happiness doesn't necessarily go up. And a lot of times people keep buying shit and more money, more problems. It ain't more money, more problems. It's more things, more problems.
Yeah.
And they end up creating things they don't like. And we live in an age where we can create the life of our dreams that offers lifestyle freedom, time freedom, location independence, and wealth in abundance, all through creating helpful content that helps people do things that they think are going to make them happier. Man, like Kyle, like, thank you. So Kyle, Win the House You Love is the YouTube. The description will have the links to stuff. Go follow him. He ain't on Instagram, so no more. So don't try that. Get on YouTube. Follow him there. High five, my man. I really do appreciate your time. And you've got an open IOU for like we do like a 30-minute consult or something. So brainstorm.
I'm definitely gonna shoot you an email because I have an idea on mindset that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, but you got to go meet your new youngin in the world. So thank you very much for your time. I'll let you know when this is out, and I really do appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Be well, man.